There's something big, colorful happening in Nigeria, and that's the conversation we were having backstage. So let's bring that conversation to you. The National Sports Festival 2024 Gateway Games. It's been beautiful to see, from the opening ceremony to the competitions, high stakes really. At this point, let me just give you a snapshot of what the medals table looks like. Delta is top with 61 gold medals. Bayelsa, looks like the South states just came to sweep all of the gold medals. Bayelsa with 39. That's as at 11 p.m. right yesterday. Then Ogun is third, of course, the host state. We have joining us on the program this morning the chairman of the National Sports Commission, Mr. Shehu Dikko, is right here with us. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning. My pleasure.
You must be a fulfilled man right now.
Well, we're getting there.
We're getting there. So it's important to keep things in focus.
Yeah.
The Gateway Games is still on until Thursday.
Yeah.
So it's not over until it is over. And I know other states are trying to compete. Now, we've had the National Sports Festival time and again, but it looks like this is a bit different. From the opening ceremony, the color, the people who attended, to the general quality of the game. What is different this time around? Did you do something different? Is there another ingredient that was put in? How has this turned out this way so far?
Well, yeah. You know, when Mr. President woke up and said he's scrapping the Ministry of Sports and bringing the National Sports Commission to make sports more professional and more deliberate and more intentional, and then to create the sports economy. So we are actually taking a huge leap from where we were before to a new reformed lane where we have to do things differently. By the time we came in, myself, my DG, Bukola Alapade, and my colleagues, we came in with a new mandate, with a new focus, that we have to do things differently, and we have to be more professional, and we have to upscale everything we are doing to the best level we could do that. And so this festival was supposed to be 2024. The first thing we did, we said, no, hold on. Let's move it a little bit forward. Let's allow us to, ourselves, Ogun State government, because we are collaborating to put it together, let's allow ourselves the time to put the best games we can put. And we clearly have a vision. The vision is Ogun 2024 should be the benchmark going forward. So we want to put up the best sport festival ever, so that we'll have a benchmark. Then the next host, which is Enugu, should also do better. The next host should be better, so that's how we can keep improving. So across all parameters, we have to do things differently. And thankfully, those that have been following the sport festival have all attested this is the best that we have had so far. And across so many of the active, from the sports perspective, to the other back-end issues, even the economy, we're looking at the back-end, the bottom line, because it's not just about the games. Yeah. It's about what you are putting at the back-end, how many people are getting employed, how many people are getting business out of it, what is the impact assessment to the economy of Ogun State. So all these clearly have changed. And so, to the glory and to the credit of Mr. President, this is the first sport festival under the renewed hope. And everybody is seeing, yes, there's renewed hope and a shared prosperity going with it. Hopefully, we build from here.
So let's talk about two things. I'm happy you mentioned the bottom line in terms of profitability in that sense. I would like you to speak to it. Are we making and recouping money as we should, as the Sports Commission in that sense organizing? Because these are kind of Olympics in itself. So, but the other thing I noticed, correct me if I'm wrong, is we saw the publicity of the opening games was beautiful. Camera angles, the parade, it was beautiful to see. But I don't know how much of consistency there is to being able to access to watch the game from home daily, like we see dedicated channels. What happened with that?
Yeah, of course. Well, let's start with that. The opening game, yes, everybody saw it globally.
So it's beautiful,
very beautiful. A lot of calls all over the world. People are asking, is this Nigeria? So kudos to Ogun State, the Sports Commission, to our colleagues for putting that together. Governor Dapo Abiodun have done amazingly well by being very intentional and being part of it. He's the #1 marketer and promoter of the games. You know, he led by the front line. And he promoted it, and he now clearly agree and align with the thinking. That it's not just about the hosting, it's not about spending the money to do the infrastructure. It's about what is we bringing to the state. And that's what we are looking at. And so far, it has been quite amazing. And even in the commercial side of it, I think by the end of the game, we are going to release the results of the commercial perspective of it. This is also one of the best games in terms of the commercial perspective, because the sponsors and the partners that have come in to support the games, like the headline sponsor, I'm sorry to say Premium Trust Bank, for example, have done amazingly well and put a lot of resources into it. So it's also another level working there. On the broadcast, yes, we have Team 33, the production partners who are producing all the games and getting all the content. Some channels were putting them live daily, like before some other sister time channels. We're working to have been putting some games daily, but we could have done much better. Now the YouTube channel is up as well. So you can see, if you go to the National Sports Commission YouTube channel, you can see different venues live. All the event happening live. At least you allow people to do that. You can Google it and see it there. You can see like 5-6 venues live at the same time and stuff like that. So, but we have challenges on the sports production in this country, and it's part of what the Sports Commission is trying to resolve. I think before the next festival, we will likely have completed our process, and we'll have our own dedicated sports channel for Nigeria, not the channels that we can put on all networks, and we could have our dedicated production teams. That will make things easier for all the TV networks. We'll produce everything, and we'll just give you the content the way they do all over the world, and you can now use it the way you want to use it. So this has to be improved definitely as we move forward.
You've talked a bit about the business, approach to doing this, but perhaps you could elaborate on it, such that after the conclusion of these games, it would not be to your tent to Israel, to all the sportsmen and all the other participants in the ecosystem of this sports value chain that has been created. So for not just Ogun State now, even for other states of the Federation that may be gearing up to host, is there a business proposal template or a strategy that would, keep the vibrance of the sports ecosystem alive and will at the same time, build grassroots sports in all states of the Federation, such that we're prepared, for international competitions?
Yeah, of course. The template is, for example, now to make sure you have the right infrastructure. That's the benchmark for any sports development and sports economy. So now Ogun State have done amazingly well, have put off beautiful infrastructures across all sports, and they have them available. So, and already we are thinking ahead together with Ogun State, because you cannot just put all that money, investment, and yes, you are doing it for only 2 weeks. After the festival, you shut down and go away. No, you have to create the platform to continue creating what we call the sports economy, the weekend economy. What kind of sports activities you'll be having in the state on a weekly basis that will make those facilities to be worthwhile, and that will bring the fans out to go to the stadium, which is what created the sports economy we're talking about. So we're thinking ahead. Already now, Ogun State have made a deliberate thinking, aligning with us, that they want to host as many events as possible. That's the way you put your facilities working and create the buzz going. When they happen, for example, in the global world, you can see every weekend there are huge matches across all the leagues. People leave their houses, they travel to watch those matches. Those people that are bringing out of their homes, they are now distributing the wealth, because they spent money in the transportation, in the restaurants, in whatever. So they are distributing wealth across the people. And this is basically what is happening in Ogun State now. I'm sure by Thursday, a lot of people will be crying, because the kind of market, the kind of business, the smaller business have done, even people selling water, selling small things at the stadium, selling shoes, selling whatever it is around there will make a lot of money. So how do you sustain that? Now the first thing we have done, we have already secured the hosting of the African Under-18, Under-20 Championship, which is happening in July again in Ogun State. So we'll have another 2,000, 3,000 people all over Africa that will fly into Ogun State. These people are coming with dollars, actually. So the market will even be much higher to do that. We have the WAFU Under-17 also going to take the friendly matches for the Falcons. So Ogun State is being a hub of that. And this is the way now you keep revolving it and keep making it an economic activity, creating the valuation. And then with that, you have to make sure that the domestic athletes are using also the facilities for their preparations, for their trainings, which make the facilities to be maintained, because it's being used always. And then you are giving the best facilities to prepare for the grassroots development.
And it's good to hear some of the plans. But, the National Sports Festival, yes, it's a litmus test for your administration in that sense, but it's a little part of the bigger picture, the bigger sports picture in Nigeria, which is vast and a lot of times problematic. aside the power industry, maybe sports has also been one area that a lot of people have eaten breakfast and they've seen heartbreaks because you see the potential. You see all of the talents we have, but when it now comes to managing these potentials, these talents, it's just really a mess. And we can talk about different sports. These are things you know, so let's just get right into it. I will describe you as some sort of minister for sports in that sense, since we don't have a minister. So you are the minister for sports in that sense. So you have a tough job to do. First, have you identified the major problem of sports management administration in Nigeria? If you have, what has it been?
Yeah, of course, we know the problem. And that's why when we came in, we came with a plan that is anchored on what we call the 3 R's. That we have to reset our thinking, we have to refocus what we are doing, and we have to relaunch our sports. So it's called the 3 R's. What do you mean by resetting? The major problem of our sports in this country is because we are more focused on competitions. Everybody is just thinking, when is the next Olympics? When is the next World Cup? All our minds and hearts are there. Nobody cares about what are you doing in the domestic scene. All over the world, it is the domestic industry that now be the anchor, whatever you are doing. We have the best league in England, for example, football. Everybody watches the Premier League, they say it's the best in the world. But can you remember when last England won the World Cup? 1966.
There's a song for it.
That's the last time they won a major football tournament. But they now build what they call the best football league in the world, which makes 3 million people every week to go out of their houses all over the country. Do you know what that means for the economy? Those people will not sit idle at home. They go out and create a weekend economy, So if football now is removed from UK now, the economy will collapse, basically, because of the foreigners that are coming every week. So, because they build the domestic sector. So we now say we have to reset our thinking. We should focus more on our domestic sports, across all sports. We should create an ecosystem that make our domestic sports work. That's number one. Number two, we have to refocus, which means we have to be intentional and deliberate about it. Whatever we need to do to jumpstart this sports economy, we have to do it. That's why, for example, now in the sport festival, we have created the Federation for the Esports, which is another version of sport, all clearly, which is how massive can get millions of people employed with all the opportunities we have in Nigeria. It is being demonstrated at a sport festival, and is a feature for our kids, the young people in Nigeria, over 70% of them, that's where they can get their energy and earn revenues to do that. So we are trying to create it to do that. So many things we are doing on that kind of basis like that. Then we have to clean up the sports and make it look more positive. Stop all the toxic things around it and make it more positive so that the investors and the corporate bodies will come and put in the money required to jumpstart the system and complement what the government is doing to do that. So,
yeah, Mr. Dikko, so let's put some specifics to it. I like the direction you're going. So there are two things that are not in short supply: talent and passion. They are not in short supply. So I've been looking at, as I said, infrastructure and broadcast are the game changers. So give us a timeline of what you're trying to achieve between upscaling and jump-starting this, to say between now and say let's use a political time, 2027. What do you intend to achieve in terms of infrastructure and in terms of broadcast? Because those are the key game changers in this. Because we can't, if we don't do this, we may not be able to do all these opens and seasons that we talk about.
We can't do that. Definitely, that's very correct. And infrastructure, if you look at it, for the first time in the history of sports in Nigeria, if you check the budget of the National Sports Commission, our budget is up like over 300%. They said it's the best budget for sports.
How much is it now, sir?
Well, it's quite decent amount of money, though it can be better. But the president.
I'll look for it.
Yeah, look for it. But the president Bola Ahmed Tinubu have shown his way. Has shown his hand. Has shown the first step to do that by making this is the best budget for sports in like 60 years or thereabout. And if you look at those funding that has been given to sports, it's not for competitions. They are targeted clearly at the key infrastructures. For example, Abuja Stadium has money to fix it, to bring it back to life. There are funding to fix some other stadiums across the country. There are funding to start building the sports centers, mini sports centers for the communities across the country. There are processes to also concession some of the major sport facilities to get some private sector to run with it. So infrastructure is key as a foundation. So between now and December, I'm sure if I've been following what we are doing, a few months ago I was in UK, London, everywhere, trying to bring the best partners that are in the stadium infrastructure development companies to come and work with us and upscale our sports to the best level. I met them there. They were in Abuja last month as well, early this month, to do the same thing. So we are fixing that. Hopefully we'll start fixing Abuja by end of the year. Abuja should start running to be the foundation. And then we're creating what we call the sports cities. It's not just about building the infrastructure. The infrastructure must be giving you money 24/7. So like Abuja Stadium, Lagos Stadium, Kaduna, Ibadan, we call them a sports city. We're also building other appertaining infrastructures around the stadium, like the shopping malls, like the hotels, like the convention centers, like amusement parks and arenas and whatever, so that the sports facilities we have will be generating money 24/7. That is what is happening all over the world. You can't wait until you're playing a match before you use it. So we are working on that. We have got partners there. We are having conversation on that, private sector to do that. Hopefully all this will start coming together by the end of the year to do that. And broadcast also, if you check the budget of sports also, there's a dedicated funding in 2025 to fix and to acquire new sport broadcast infrastructures, because that's the biggest missing link in our sports economy. It's producing our sports content.
Right.
But today, if you want to produce like a single football match in Nigeria, it will cost you between 30 to 40 million. Why? Because of deficit of infrastructure. So we are trying to break that cycle and make sure every zone of the country we have a proper dedicated sports infrastructure, the OV vans, and we have trained people in that zone. That will make it easier to move around that zone and cover every sports activity at the minimal cost, and then put it out to do that. We, myself and the NTA DG, the NBC DG, and everybody were also in Paris, speaking with the people that supply these infrastructures in Nigeria before we have them. They are parked somewhere.
And there are private sector players who can provide some of these infrastructure, manpower, and the rest. So I think that's where collaboration comes on board, and that's why we're having this conversation. We know you have a lot of job to do. We wish you the very best because sports, as I said, is one very tricky subject. We're hoping that all our stadia can be world-class at this point. But so far, we have to thank you so much. I know that the closing ceremony is on Thursday.
Yeah, it's on Thursday.
Of the National Sports Festival.
And it's going to be another great show.
That's May 29th.
Yeah.
How come?
Yeah, we put it that way.
All right.
Because May 29th is our Democracy Day.
It'll be good to see the president there. But Chairman, we have to thank you so much. Clearly, this is just the start of a conversation. We'll have this from time to time, get updates. We've been speaking with the chairman of a National Sports Commission, whom I describe sometimes as a minister for sports unofficially, Mr. Shehu Dikko. Thank you so much for
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for the...